What's up, you guys? And we are alive. Happy Monday morning. I hope you guys are doing super well. I'm just going to take a few seconds here, make sure everything is working correctly. It looks like my audio is coming in well. Everything is good. What's up, you guys? I hope you're doing super well this Monday morning. I'm coming to you guys live from Puerto Vallarta, where I'm going to be for the next couple of months. It's an absolutely beautiful day. So jump in the private chat as we're getting going and let me know where you guys tuning in from. I love hearing where you guys are located at the moment. But today, we've got some interesting things to talk about, some really cool things in the news that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. As you can see, you can actually see what we're going to be talking about right down here below. I'm constantly improving these live streams every single week. This is one of the fun new things that I'm introducing is this little banner down here that is going to tell you guys what we're going to be talking about. But anyways, you guys, I'm super excited for this. We're going to be going over some of the big news this week, or technically from last week into this week. But before we jump into that, we are presented by Parable. If you guys have not heard of Parable, this is my online community inside of which we're creating case studies of real online businesses generating between $100,000 and $10 million a year. This is something that's really exciting for me. We're diving in really deep on what makes real online businesses tick so that you guys can apply to your businesses and to your lifestyle. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, definitely head on over to joinparable.com and check it out. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and give this a like. I do 3 videos every single week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, all about the digital nomad economy and the location independent lifestyle. So hit the subscribe button and also the little notification bell so you never miss another video. We've got Kyle joining in from Germany. What's up, Kyle? Nice to see you again. I love that you're joining. I saw you here last week as well, so thank you for joining again. But all right, you guys, without further ado, I'm actually just going to jump into our first story of the week. Very first thing that I want to talk about this week are the winners and losers of the remote economy. This is an article that came out from Yahoo last week. Here it is. I'm going to share it with you guys right now. So this article talks about essentially something that isn't new to any of us. Basically talks about how the switch to remote work was quite a boon for some people earning big salaries, but actually was a big negative to people who are not big earners. This isn't something that's super shocking to many people, I think. Essentially, people who are working quote unquote white collar jobs were able to pretty easily just switch over to working from home, while people who are working on the front lines, service providers, people working at restaurants, et cetera, were not able to do their job normally. And so because of that, they either had to deal with unemployment, they had to find new jobs, they kind of went through a much more difficult period. Really the important thing I think to pull out of this article is that we have a lot of work to do ahead of us, okay? Remote work is not for everyone, and it's also not going to be something that the entire economy is going to be able to switch over to, okay? I'm not one of these like remote work maxis that talks about how like we can do everything remotely, okay? Obviously, we cannot. You can't be a fully remote doctor. You can't do a lot of things that we need as an economy day-to-day remotely. However, I do believe that more and more jobs are going to be going remote. Also, there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be automated. And because of that automation, think about like, for example, the last time I went into a McDonald's in the United States, there were not that many people working the front register. I don't know if you guys have had that experience, but essentially McDonald's is redesigning a lot of their restaurants to actually be serviced at the front by these touchpad computers. And that was a job that was done by a high school kid or college kid, or, you know, it was somebody's second job or whatever that may be. And the issue is that with more of this automation happening, we are essentially cutting out a lot of jobs from our workforce. And I think that this is somewhere where we need to really focus over the next couple of years, is to make sure that those people who are removed from those job positions are going into remote positions, because those are far more sustainable, far more protected jobs in the long term. Digital Nomad Mom tunes and says, hi from Thailand. This is actually my friend Julia. We're going to be talking about Julia a little bit later on. Hi, Julia. Thanks for joining. But yeah, so essentially, I think that this is a really important thing to talk about, and it's something that we really need to focus on. Because otherwise, what we're going to continue to see is this sort of like the winners become even more of winners, and the losers, quote unquote, people who had a more difficult time during COVID and kind of like the post COVID shift to remote work, are going to continue having a harder and harder time. And I think this is something that we can all do a little bit to essentially help out people. Is to, it's something that I'm definitely focusing on a lot with Parable, is how do we help people create sustainable location dependent lives, build more jobs that are remote, or start businesses so they can provide their own income. So I think this is a really interesting article. I definitely suggest you guys check it out. Again, you can find links to all of these articles in the newsletter that comes out every single Monday. If you haven't subscribed to that, head on over to thatremotelife.com/nomad insider so that you can join that there. But all right, you guys, let's move on to our second story of the week, and that is the new Windows Mesh for Teams announcement. So if you have not heard about Mesh before, it's a platform for virtual meetings and other collaborative gatherings in mixed reality. So Windows has had this Mesh kind of feature for a while. It's kind of like a team, kind of like a Slack / meets Zoom sort of thing. And they've been doing that for quite a while now, but they recently announced that they're going to be pushing that into the metaverse. So this is kind of following in the footsteps of Facebook's announcement of them changing their brand to Meta. This is something we talked about last week, and this has been in the works for quite a while now. It is coming after the Facebook switching to Meta announcement, but this is something that Windows has been working on for a little bit. And here is what the idea with all of this is that Windows wants to create an environment that is based around augmented reality and virtual reality, where we can kind of have meetings together, even though we are apart. So kind of the way that they're describing this is that you're going to be able to jump into a room together. Some of the people, you're going to see kind of like their avatars. They'll be able to see you for real, for example, and you'll be able to present to them as if you were in the same room. They're talking about a lot of these things, like, for example, being able to pull up like 3D models of whatever it is that you're talking about, if it's applicable to that. You'll be able to draw on a whiteboard that is virtual that everyone can see. You'll be able to, share your slides and stuff like that. So this is kind of what we've seen in like sci-fi movies, and it's something that we're not quite there yet. It's not ready to necessarily launch anytime soon, but it is something that Windows is working on. It's something that they want to release, I believe, next year. So 2022 is something this is something they'll be launching then. It's very exciting to see how this will play out in terms of, okay, what does this mean for all of us remote workers, all of us location independent business owners? Like, how can we use that? One of the really interesting things that they talk about in here is that tech companies will actually be able to like the companies who use it will be able to build out their own workspaces. The same way that we as users can create avatars to represent us in the metaverse in this virtual reality meeting, companies will actually be able to design their own workspaces. So like the meeting room that we'll be having this meeting in is something that companies can design. So I'm really curious to see what sort of economies are built around this. So I could, in the future, maybe in like 5 or 6 years, I could see there being somebody who has a company who designs these workspaces so that, if you have a small company, instead of designing your own, you can buy one that better fits the type of meeting that you want to run. It's going to be really interesting to see the sort of opportunities that pop up from this. I don't think Windows is going to be the only company to have some sort of product like this. I would be shocked if Zoom does not try to compete in some way with this. I know a lot of people have been complaining about Zoom's product for quite a while now, so I'm sure they're working on updates. And I think it'd be really silly for them to not in some way get in on the whole meta meetings kind of direction either. So this is going to be really interesting. I definitely think that we need to keep an eye out from other tech companies. I just mentioned Zoom, but even more tech companies that are announcing their version or their entry into the metaverse in some way. Actually, this is totally brand new information. This was not in the newsletter. This is one of the benefits of joining live for these presentations, that sometimes I might be throwing in things that are developing that have just come out. So Reddit just announced their entry into the metaverse. Is something we're going to be talking about in more detail next week when I get to review the information. But essentially, they're going to be taking all of their karma points, which is the way that they reward users inside of the Reddit platform, and it's kind of like what gives you clout, so to say. So if you have a ton of karma points, and that means that you are a very respected user, and they're actually turning that into a crypto. So it'll be crypto rewards. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out, how that affects the crypto market in general, because that's going to be a ton of new users added to the Ethereum chain. So it's going to be very, very interesting, but I will dive into that more this week, and we'll cover it more next Monday at the latest. But let me know, what do you guys think in the comments? What do you guys think about this whole move towards virtual and these sort of like virtual or augmented reality meetings? What do you expect to see? What are you excited about? Do you think it's a bit like too much? Like, are you not excited about it? Let me know. I'm definitely very curious to hear what you guys think about. But up next, you guys, this is a big announcement for many digital nomads. People have been waiting for this for quite a while, but Thailand has announced that it's going to be dropping, or they have dropped their quarantine requirements. So up until now, you had to do a full quarantine if you wanted to get into Thailand. And let me actually share my screen, because I think that this has some very good information on this article. This article is coming from CNN. This is a CNN article that I thought I did a good job of explaining what's going on. So, as of November 1st, fully vaccinated travelers who have stayed a minimum of 21 days in one of 63 approved low-risk countries and territories, which include the United States, the UK, Australia, India, and Canada, can avoid a lengthy hotel quarantine for the first time in more than 18 months. When you do enter Thailand, you will need to stay one night in a government-approved hotel while they await the result of a COVID-19 test that will be administered upon arrival. So essentially, there's going to be a 24-hour rapid COVID test. And while they wait for the results of that, to make sure that even though you are vaccinated, there have been times where people who've been vaccinated have gotten sick. So they want to make sure that they are, cutting that at the knees as much as possible. So you will have to stay at least one night to get that test. But if you are not, what does it say here? So this was one of these very interesting things where you have to stay in a certain city for a time. So you cannot actually, this is arriving from countries not on the list are eligible to enter through a sandbox scheme that requires them to stay in a government-approved hotel or resort in one of 17 blue designations. So certain cities, certain locations will be able to essentially, if you are not staying the 21 days in a country that is not on that list, you can still enter, but you just have to stay at a certain city. And people who are not fully vaccinated with an approved vaccine must quarantine in pre-booked government-approved hotels for 10 days upon arrival. Now, this makes a lot of sense for Thailand, in my opinion, because we are entering their busy tourist season because of the holidays. A lot of people who want to get away from the winter during Christmas, whatever, are like, this is normally when they travel to Thailand. So Thailand is trying to open up in some sort of safe way to make sure that they're still bringing in some of that tourism money, because it is this article mentioned how big of how large it's essentially like, tourism is 15% Prior to the pandemic, tourism contributed to around 15% of Thailand's GDP, according to World Bank figures. So they're essentially trying to make up as much of that 15% as possible pre-COVID in order to bring up their GDP again. So it makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people are excited about this. And it's really good news because they're kind of giving everyone a way to enter Thailand. So if you've been vaccinated, you have the easiest route, just quarantine for one day until you get your results, and then you're free to go wherever you want to in Thailand. If you are vaccinated, but you're not coming from one of those pre-approved countries, you need to enter Thailand. You can only go to certain cities. Definitely make sure that you look at that if you are interested in going to Thailand. Make sure that you know what cities those are. And then if you are not vaccinated, you can still enter Thailand, but you need to do a 10-day quarantine. So I think this is a good rollout. We'll see kind of like how that works out for them. I'm definitely excited to see that. I'm excited to see Thailand reopening. But all right, let's dive into the next one. This is something that I'm actually very interested in, something that I'm not super shocked about. I think that this is a good direction. And, anyways, I'm very, very interested to see how this plays out. But Volcom and Selina have decided to team up for a list of these surf co-work destinations. Let me show you guys this article that I found. This is a very, very interesting. To me, it kind of sounds like a match made in heaven. So this is from PR Newswire. Essentially, what is happening is that Volcom, if you've never heard of Volcom, it is a very popular surf brand. And if you've never heard of Selina, Selina is a co-living space / co-working space brand that has several locations all over the world. But through this partnership, Selina and Volcom have joined forces to target the remote working and living space for growing market of active, economically conscious, and socially minded nomadic lifestyles. So what their plan is to create these surf clubs, which is they're calling a new holistic experience created for young professionals and surf enthusiasts. The way that I'm imagining this is like young people who are interested, who are surfers, but also are now working remotely, and they want the best of both worlds. They want a place that has really, really good surf, but they know that there are the amenities and what they need to work remotely or to run their business remotely. And so Selina and Volcom are teaming up for this. Essentially, Selina saying is like, hey, we'll provide the co-living space and the co-working space with decent to good internet. And then Volcom is going to pitch that out to their entire list of, surfers. They have quite a bit of people who watch their stuff who are interested in that brand. This makes a lot of sense to me. They've mentioned the first 5 locations will be in Sayulita, Mexico, Florianopolis, Brazil, Peniche, Portugal, Santa Teresa and Yaco, Costa Rica, and Bocas del Toro, Panama. Now, the only thing I don't understand here that I'm not understanding from this is where the first place will be, because those 5 locations that I mentioned are it says the first club is slated to open this fall with 5 additional locations planned to open in key surfing destinations across the region. So this is not the original one. I'm not sure if I missed this in this article. Definitely let me know if you know where this is going to be, but they are not mentioning where this original one is going to be. They say where the next 5 are going to be, but not where the first one's going to be. I think this is a really cool idea. I think Selina has, from what I've read and not having spoken with anybody at Selina, I would love to actually, if any of you guys are watching this and have connections with Selina, I'd love to have somebody on the podcast who is involved with Selina. But Selina has been trying to get as much of the market as possible. And they've kind of as far as I've understood from some reports, have kind of overstretched. They've taken quite a bit of investments. And so for me, this makes a lot of sense. They've already built a lot of the infrastructure. Now they just need a ton of people to come and use that infrastructure. And so this sort of strategic partnership with Volcom makes a lot of sense to me, because Volcom is going to be able to push a lot of people into Selina destinations. So this is really interesting. I'm very excited to see how this plays out. I think that this is just a sign of what we can expect over the next 5 to 10 years as more of these co-working, co-living brands pop up. There's already many of them out there, but I'm very curious to see how they divide up the market, what sort of other strategic partnerships we see like this. Very, very exciting stuff. I'm very curious to go and check one of those out myself. I'm not a surfer. I've taken a few surfing lessons, but I still think that this would be a ton of fun. All right, you guys, our last story that we're going to talk about today before we talk about something really, really fun that my friend Julia is helping out with is the Beeple, or the Becoming Beeple documentary going live. So if you guys have not heard of this, if you've never heard of Beeple before, Beeple is an artist who recently made a lot of news because he sold an NFT called Every Day's the First 5,000 Days. So this is essentially, Beeple is a digital artist who's been creating these like really interesting digital pieces every single day for the last 5,000 days. And a few months ago, he sold that an NFT which combined all 5,000 days into one. I wonder if they have a picture of it here somewhere. They do not. So it's essentially like a combination of all of these 5,000 days into one, and it sold for $69 million. And so this documentary, done by 1:37 p.m., essentially records that process of him announcing that, and kind of follows him through the last 2 weeks before the sale of that NFT. And it's very, very interesting. He talks a lot about where he came from, his history, how he got involved into digital art. I really suggest that you guys go check it out. This premiered live on Friday, so just a few days ago, in New York City during their NFT kind of like week that they were doing there. And I loved this documentary so much because there are so many creative kids who grew up being told, great, you're an artist, great, you're creative, but like, what are you really going to do for a living? And here's this guy who has very much that background. You know, he kind of shows you all of these drawings of him learning to draw, how he started making these like fun visual films and like videos for the backdrop for like DJs and all of this other stuff. And you essentially see this very creative person who was able to make a living out of it and is now one of the top selling artists in the world. If not, I believe he is now the highest earning living artist in the world. And so this just goes to show that we're entering this period in our economy, in this period in our civilization, where you don't anymore have to be like, all right, I'm creative, I'm an artist, I do these very creative, artsy things, but I need to have a real job. So if you're somebody who grew up with their parents or other adults saying like, great, you're creative, but like, you know, that's not a real job, right? You know, you need to go out and get a job to support this hobby. Doesn't have to be that way anymore. You can just send them this documentary and say, hey, look what can happen. And I love this so much because now the generation that's coming up, the Gen Zers, they don't have to have these conversations. They know that they can go out there and be creative and earn an amazing living doing their creative work. They don't need to have, you know, they don't need to be like the one in a million or one in the 100 million artists that can earn a living from their art. They can, you know, it's so much easier. And I love this documentary for that. Yes, the tech, yes, the NFT, yes, all of that stuff is really, really interesting in terms of like how it's going to affect our economy. But I love so much more that this is a story of somebody who is really creative, who is really passionate about what they were doing. And now they can earn really, really big in that economy. So I'm very excited about that. I highly suggest that you guys go and watch the documentary. You can find it on YouTube. It's for free. Just search for Becoming Beeple. I also have it linked in the newsletter. So if you got that, check your inbox. It's in there. Phenomenal documentary. I got to admit, I actually teared up a little bit. It was very emotional seeing him kind of like go from like not really earning a ton of money, you know, not really being taken seriously as an artist, to then selling an NFT for $69 million. Completely insane story. But anyways, you guys, I do want to touch very quickly on something that I am very, very excited about. And that is my friend, Julia, who is in the chat box. She's putting something on called the Family Wealth Toolkit. This is happening November 16th. So this is essentially, it's something that I'm very interested in. It's something that I'm very passionate about because I'm more and more hearing from families, people who have children and they're wondering like, hey, I understand that you can be a digital nomad and earn money online and travel the world when you're single or you don't have kids, but what about us people that have kids? How do we do it? Is it possible? Is it something that I'm insane for thinking about? Like, how do I actually make this work? And my friend Julia is putting on this amazing presentation, this amazing event. I'm going to show you guys right now all about exactly this to explain to you, to show you guys how you can build a business that's locationally independent so that you can have a wealthy and safe family. I love this so much because I'm a really big fan of sustainability. I'm sure you guys have heard me say sustainable a lot because I'm not in this kind of stuff for like short-term things. I want to figure out how to build things that can exist for a long time. And so that's why I'm really excited for this event, the Family Wealth Toolkit, because Julia and a whole bunch of people that she's bringing on, she has over 21 experts. Hint, hint, I'm one of those experts. But Julia is going to be showing you, Julia and her experts that she's bringing on, are going to be showing you exactly how to do that, how to live location independent and make it a sustainable lifestyle as a family. So if you're somebody who is interested in becoming a digital nomad, who is interested in this lifestyle but has a family or even plans on having a family one day and isn't sure how that's going to mix with the lifestyle, this is definitely the event for you. So make sure that you join for this, register and grab and save your seat. It's happening November 16th at 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm one of the presenters, like I said. So just head on over to the link that is actually in the description of this of this YouTube live, and you can just go in there and register right now. I'm very excited for this event. I'm very curious to see how it's going to turn out. I think that Julia is going to do some awesome things there. Julia actually jumps in and says, yay, so excited to have you on board, Miko. Thank you so much for having me, Julia. Thank you so much for being in the chat. We actually wanted to have Julia on the live stream here, but we were having some issues with the internet. But it's so great to have her in the chat there. But yeah, you guys definitely jump in the description down below and register. It's a free event, so just jump in there, register. It's going to be really, really interesting. Lots of really cool speakers presenting to help you guys build that location-dependent lifestyle with or without a family. So anyways, you guys, thank you so much for joining me live. Again, we do this every single Monday morning. 11 a.m. Eastern is when it happens, or 12 p.m. Eastern. I apologize. 12 p.m. Eastern is when we do this. You can also watch the replays. They're always available for you guys. And once again, you guys, if you're interested in building a location-dependent lifestyle, if you want to find out how businesses do this stuff for real online, definitely check out Parable. You can find that at joinparable.com. We release a new case study of a real online business every single month so you can see exactly what makes that business tick. It's a very, very exciting business. It's a very exciting project. It's been so exciting to see how much people are already pulling away from the case studies inside of Parable. So if you're interested in that, head on over to joinparable.com so that you can learn more and join if that sounds like something that's interesting to you. But all right, you guys, thank you so much for watching this. Make sure that you subscribe if you're not subscribed already, because we have another video coming to you guys Wednesday and then another one on Friday. And then we're going to be doing another live on Monday. So I will see you guys on Wednesday. Have an awesome Monday and an awesome rest of the week. See you guys.